Yes, please, Veronica.
Yeah, the great natural perfection is interesting. Um, I find that sometimes when I'm meditating, I have a good day, a bad day, but what happens is the following. The good days are good, right?
Hmm.
Meditating.
Hmm.
But the bad day lingers. It's kind of like, damn, that was not a good meditation,
Hmm.
whatever. And I cannot analyze it. I can't figure out what kind of stuff was coming up
Right.
because I can't see it and it's part of me,
Yes.
but it lingers. And I think that's interesting that the negative lingers and the good stuff dissipates nicely.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? That's the way it is for a lot of the time for many people so far.
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean it's that way for all the people all the time and must be always into the future. This is
right.
this is why we're practicing Dharma because we can advance on the path, even though everything
Right.
is infinitely okay. For, right
Right.
before we start, um, we can become. What happens is we grow into being more cognizant of that and having the cognition of that. Having the cognition of that is really the first step on the spiritual path,
Mhm.
right? We can get that in any meditation. A lot of us had that before we ever meditated. And in some
Yeah.
cases, that helped bring you to meditation. You had some spontaneous experience in childhood or later on,
Mhm.
and went,
Exactly.
"Whoa, what is this?" And then maybe you found some books that said, "Oh, this is such and such," and you don't have to depend on it happening in random arbitrary times. You can sit down and access that on a regular basis and bring it more fully into your life. So the beginning of the path, the Dharma path, is some cognition of that.
Right.
Then the lifetime is actually it's funny. I was in October on this retreat with my teacher Rupert Spira, and there's this expression that he's been using for years, which I just thought was brilliant. He says you have that cognition, but then it takes a lifetime for it to, he would say, colonize the
Mm.
body, the thinking, the emotions, the behavior, right? For everything to become saturated in it. But he
Yeah.
would use this word colonized. But people started calling him on it, saying that's not a politically correct expression. People
Right.
don't like colonialism, and particularly his being British. There's a lot of bad history wrapped
Yeah.
up with that word, that concept of colonizing. So he was, as of this retreat in October, he was searching for a new word. He hadn't found it yet. So we can hang an asterisk on that word, but you get the concept of it. You
Yeah.
get the, or not. It's not a concept. It's a description. It's a phenomenon that this is what we're all going through. Now, yeah, there's a tendency to dwell on the negative. And this is one of these things where you can really profit, you can really learn from watching other people who do it,
Yeah.
maybe more and
Exactly.
maybe worse than you do. I
Hmm.
I was talking the other day with a trainer, a physical trainer that I work with, and she was telling me about one client who's just always complaining. She says, if I have the music on, she wants it off. If I have the music off, she wants it on. If I've got the window open, she wants it closed. It's just nothing is right, and it's just an hour of that is just really such a trial for this poor trainer who is just a completely lovely, patient person. And I said to her, I don't know if this was helpful. I said, you have to live with it for an hour. She has to live with it 24/7.
Forever. Forever. Hmm.
And when we see people who do that, again, we can take that as a lesson. It's often much easier to learn the negative lessons You can hear, musicians, right? You can hear a great pianist playing, and great, that's perfection, terrific. But it's not always easy to learn from that. When you hear someone doing something off, right, Kristen, when the phrasing is off, or the breathing is not in the right place, the posture is right, you can really learn from that. So it's the same thing with this kind of thing, and then we see, oh yeah, I'm doing that. Um, and it's a choice. It's a choice that we to a certain degree we choose whether we're going to dwell on the negative.
Yeah.
I had a friend years ago who just he was it's a habit, and he was just really in the habit of just being negative and sarcastic about things and about people. And for someone who's just in the middle of that, they don't think, oh, this is this particular thing I'm doing. They just think this is life. This is how things are. This is how we function. Um,
Right.
and my then wife, my late first wife, Maggie, after listening to him do this for a while, said, and this was brilliant. She said, "Let me make a suggestion." She said, "Just here, take this little pad of paper and this pen, put them in your breast pocket, and every time you make a negative, I think she said, every time you have a negative thought, just make a little mark on the paper. That's all. Don't try to change it. Don't
Mhm.
try to suppress it. Don't try to change it to all, happy, smiley, shiny, good thoughts. Just make a little note every time." And it was fantastic. She said, do that for one full day. And he came
Mhm.
back the next day. He said, wow, I didn't realize I was doing that. And once you realize it, you've got a foot outside of it.
Yeah.
You see what you're doing, and so you're no longer completely in the grip of the habit.
Right. Right.
Now,
And
some
then
of
with
the
the lots of marks.
making that mark, you're doing it in some
Yeah.
form. I can't improve on that exercise, so you might want to do it that way. But maybe there's other
That's a
ways
good
to
one.
do that as well. Um, Now, to a certain degree, that can be physiological, right? And then it's challenging that just sometimes your system is depressed,
Yeah.
right? And you just feel, ugh. I tend to be that way in the morning. I'm not a morning person. And I actually, on the retreat, I brought this up to Rupert. I said, God, all these years of practicing Dharma and teaching Dharma and all that. And in the mornings, I'm just grouchy. Arrgh. Uh, and he said, observe the sensations of grouchiness. I went, right. And I realized I've written whole chapters telling other people to do this, but this is why we all, teachers have to go and hear it from other teachers.
Yeah.
You have to you need someone outside of yourself to remind you. Right, observe the sensations of grouchiness. They're physical sensations. Locate them. Where is that thing? And then the moment you're doing that, you're not completely in the grip of those sensations, because there's a part of you that's pure awareness, that's observing, that is
Right.
the witness of the sensations. You're no longer completely in the grip of it. Don't try to make the sensations go away.
Mhm.
Don't try to go, okay, I'm going to pretend to be cheerful and spiritual even though I'm grouchy. Just
Yeah.
observe the sensations. So simple.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. That's a great question.
Thank you. Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Anything else today?
Okay, so I have a question. This is Adam.
Good.
Um, and it's off topic, but
Perfect.
this time of year, I think it's especially important to be sleeping well.
Yeah.
Um, and I find myself often not sleeping well these days. I don't know what it is, if it's because the heat's come on or what it might be.
Right.
But I was hoping maybe you had some ideas, meditational ideas for better sleep, whether, it's something that I can do when I'm in the middle of not sleeping, or something I should be doing, ahead of sleeping. Just any good ideas.
Sure. And in this case, you're in luck because constitutionally, I'm a serious insomniac. So I've I've had
Yeah.
I inherited on both sides. Both of my parents were like just terrible sleepers.
Yeah.
So I've been forced to do a lot of personal research and development in this area.
Hmm.
And my last couple of books, I, th- I think Fear Less, definitely Natural Meditation has a whole chapter, and I give you like a whole toolbox of sleep techniques because some seem to work better for some people than others, or some seem to sometimes work better for the same person one time and another time maybe others. Sleep can be very tricky. For some people who just, always sleep like a rock, they don't know what people like you and me are talking about.
Yep.
Just what you go to sleep. But so you might want to, if you have that book, Natural Meditation, might want to take a look at that because I think I've got eight, eight, seven, eight, nine different approaches. One that I would say is um, maybe the kind of the default, the go-to nighttime meditation technique that seems to work really well for a lot of people a lot of the time is uh, as you're lying there in the bed, um, and possibly sitting up. Um, like right now, actually, let's do this just for a minute because we don't want to all fall asleep together. If we close our eyes and just notice the visual field in front of you, and you'll notice it's not completely dark, right? There's some vague sense of space in front of you and some vague sense of color, possibly light. It's vague, it's subtle, but it's there. It's not just total blankness. And just rest your gaze in that. Just rest your gaze in the visual field in front of you. As always, thoughts come and go, feelings, sensations, sounds come and go. And they're just there coming and going in the background. We're resting our attention, resting our gaze on the space in front. Okay, and let's open the eyes. Okay, so simple. Any questions about that, Adam?
Um, no, not really.
Yeah. So
I
so you
will. We No, go ahead.
yeah. So you may want to give that a try. Now, also, of course, the physical um, situation you mentioned. You may be the heat's coming on and everything. I read every article that comes along about improving your sleep, and they seem to always say cool air is better. So if you can do something about that, open a window or something, I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense. So that's one approach. Another one that I've been actually using a lot lately myself and finding it's to be usually quite effective. You know how we sometimes will launch into our meditation um, uh, singing descending fifths, right? Ah, And sometimes we'll go through the 5 syllable sounds, ah, a, e, o, u. What I've been finding is just using the sound o or u. This isn't, I haven't learned this from anyone. This has been just some intuitive exploration on my side. And actually, I'd be interested if you, a couple of you also give this some test runs, see if it's useful for you. The sounds o and u, which are the at the dark end of the vowel spectrum,
Oh.
right? Seem to be the most intuitively to me. They seem to be the most conducive to sleep. They're like dark sounds. They go with the dark mode of consciousness. And what I do is I'll just mentally, I might start with the descending fifth and then just stay on that low sound, on a low O or low U. And the cool thing about doing it mentally rather than vocally is you don't run out of breath. So you can just be resting in an O or an U that goes on forever. And the other thing about doing it mentally rather than vocally is that you're not limited by the range of your voice. So I like to imagine an O or an U that's like, a couple of octaves below. Like if you ever hear any of these like super low singers, there's actually a technique for you can develop that. You can find YouTube videos about this if you're interested. You start by working with, what they call vocal fry, where you go, and when you go, you're using different part of your vocal cords, or you're using them in a different way. And that actually, that vocal fry, that is actually an octave below your regular voice. So if you say, oh, and you go, oh, right, that's an octave below. So that's lower than my range can usually. And then you work on, you gradually, you eliminate the fry from it. But in any case, this is just, I'm just kind of talking around it here a little. So if you just listen to some of those super low singers, that can give you an oral impression of what a super low or sounds like, and then just beyond that, that sound without limit, and you can go even lower than that. It's hard to you may find it hard to imagine a sound that's an octave or a couple of octaves lower than you've ever heard, right? Like lower than the lowest organ sound or something. But you might want to fool around with it. It starts to become kind of abstract and interesting, and just stay on that. And I've just found that just staying on that, and then whatever's going on, okay, maybe, there tends to be sometimes when you're trying to sleep, a lot of thoughts and blah, like, okay, have it there, but have it all be pervaded by that deep O or that deep U. Just let that kind of let that colonize all whatever thought activity and whatever feelings are going on. Just let it kind of percolate through them, or just kind of, you can kind of imagine that all those thoughts have, and all those feelings and sensations have whatever they're taking, whatever form they take, but that they're essentially made of that O or that U. Right, so it's all just O moving in O, U moving in a sea of U. Is that making sense to you? I mean, you're hearing, you're understanding what I'm saying. I'm clear what I'm saying. So
I hear you. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
so yeah, I would actually be delighted from my side to have a few more guinea pigs play with this stuff and see what's effective for you. You can report
Great.
back
Yeah, I'll
next
do
time.
that. And I've been trying to remember because we've just moved over to Europe, and whether your books are back in the US or whether they're here.
Right.
So I'll have to, we'll
Okay.
figure that out, and I'll reread the chapters
Okay,
on sleep.
cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Because I got some fun stuff in there. I got, like, the thought bubbles in cartoons. I do something with that, a few other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Good. Good. Anything else today?
Dean, Mom has one helpful falling asleep breathing idea if you're open to
Yeah. Oh,
another
You
thought.
know,
hey, advice from Mom always.
but Dean, I find, and it's follows up with even the sounds that you're making when you're trying to go to sleep, or even imitating the sound. When I do really deep belly breathing from deep down in, and then I do it like, I fall asleep. I don't even know when I fell asleep. It might be after 4, it might be after 5 deep breaths. I I don't know. It might be really helpful. It's following along the same thing that you were giving him as an
Mhm.
as an idea, but deep belly breathing, very slow,
Mhm.
and then I'm asleep, and I don't even know
Yeah.
when I fell asleep.
Can be that simple. Can be
That-
that simple. Um, Also, and actually, I give this in the chapter, that sleep chapter, um, is a yogic thing. Is, the streams, the two breath streams through the left nostril and the right nostril. Supposedly, the left nostril is cooling and pacifying, is connected to the parasympathetic nervous system, and the breath stream through the right nostril is arousing. It's connected with the sympathetic nervous system. So what you can do is just close your right nostril, and then do, and then just close your right nostril for a while. Breathe normally, or close your right nostril and do your deep belly breathing. Um, Also, you may want to be lying on your right side, because then that'll help clear a more open stream through the left nostril. Yeah, good. No, any advice from Mom? When I was on meditation teacher training with Maharishi back in 1970 in Estes Park, Colorado, winter 1970, in an unwinterized Boy Scout camp. And people were, and Maharishi was always very good about just saying, about not prescribing lifestyle for us. He would say, you just meditate and you'll live your life. And people would say, no, tell us how to live our life. Tell us, right? And there was a lot of interest, especially in those days. Well, there still is, in diet. And people would just beg him, Maharishi, tell us, what's the enlightened person's diet? What should we all be vegetarian? Should we eat macrobiotic? That was a trend at the time. Should we eat this? Should we eat that? And Maharishi would just laugh and deflect, deflect, deflect. And finally, he said, okay, I'll tell you one thing. I'll give you one diet guideline. If it comes from mother's hand, you know it's good for you. And at the time, I was a dogmatic vegetarian at the time, and my mom was cooking pot roast. And so, of course, I can't hear you, right? How can that be right? How can that be right?
Wait, what about your other one, the Rice Krispies in the morning or something?
What? I'm sorry?
The morning meal that your mother used to make you. That was like slightly unhealthy. It was like a glass of milk and a Rice Krispie treat and some butter.
Oh, yeah, no glass of milk. Oh, no, not Rice Krispie treat. It was Rice Krispies in heavy cream with white sugar and sliced bananas. And I want a bowl of that right now. Don't call that unhealthy. That was from my mother's hand, right? Yeah, but you know what? I get it now. I get it. especially now being a parent and being a grandparent, because I know that the food, it you know the that children cannot conceive of the love that their parents and their grandparents have for them. You know, and and that the things that are you do for them, and sometimes the things you do on the face of it are very effective, and sometimes the intention is good and you wind up giving them this totally ugly sweater for Christmas and that you thought they were going to like, and it's right, and the kid is like pretending to be overjoyed and all, right, all that, it's all kind of delightful, because whether it's a nourishing meal or an ugly sweater or whatever, what it is it's a vehicle for that love. It's an expression of that love, right? And that's always good. Okay? Good. Anything else? Tejas, how are things in New Jersey?
They're okay. Um, just man, I mean, life. I don't know what else to say.
Uh-huh. Yeah, stuff happens.
Yes,
Stuff happens.
stuff happens,
Stuff
and
happens.
there's nothing to do about it.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
Sometimes there's some stuff to do about some stuff. Uh, you know, but yeah, stuff happens, and as one lama I studied with used to say, shit happens, and if you don't learn how to let go of it, you wind up covered in shit. So that's the choice we have. We don't have the choice whether or not shit happens. We do have the choice whether to learn how to let go of it. And we're our great good fortune is that we've been exposed to teachings showing us how to do that.
Yeah,
Then whether we implement them, or to what degree we implement them, that's up to us.
yeah.
Right.
I go back and forth, and I notice how, uh, like you were saying, that you need to be reminded by teachers of your own by your own teachers of these things that you already teach,
Right.
and that I'm going through an experience where I'm seeing how it's I can learn all these things and understand them, and then the shit happens, and it's not that it's hard, but it's I get distracted again,
Mm-hmm.
and so I need the reminders. I need the yeah, and it's interesting how I can go from I don't need to understand anything, I don't need to analyze anything. Like you said, sometimes if there's an opportunity to analyze something and it's helpful, that's
Mm-hmm.
not a problem. But but these grand ideas of why is the world here, why am I here, and I don't need to know any of that to
Yeah.
succeed, or
No.
like you said, be perfect. I mean, it's already done for me. School's out. um and then the shit happens, and suddenly I want to know everything again.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah,
there's
and it
nothing to
and it
know.
can and it can seem disheartening. I understand that. It can
Yeah,
seem disheartening, like, wait a minute, are we really here again? I thought I straightened this one out 6 months ago,
right.
right? And look at other people here. Look at your screen. You have gallery view. If your gallery view's on, you'll see everyone's nodding their heads because this happens to everyone. It certainly happens to me. I mean, one of the great, this one took me a long time because of the way that I am, was just the spiritual arrogance of thinking, well, I understand this stuff. I understand it better than most people. And I'm the teacher and I'm the, and so I don't have to go through stuff, blah, blah, blah. And that's really a trap.
Yeah.
And it's such a, I still, that's one I see popping up. You got to watch for that. And because that's a trap, and and like all of these, letting go of it is not a like a a task, an obligation. Letting go of it's a relief,
Mhm.
because if it's
Yeah.
artificial, it's like wearing a tight shoe. Having to be perfect, having to be, I'm the teacher, I'm the whatever. And that's a tight shoe. It's a mental construct. And
Yeah.
so when we kick that off, oh, I can remember there was a specific moment in my life. I was in my late 30s, and I can remember the moment I was walking down it was in this Victorian house that my first wife and I owned in Plainfield, New Jersey. I remember I was walking along the upstairs hallway when I got this like epiphany, and it came like in words, and the words were, well, I might as well be me because nothing else is working. Right.
Right.
Right. Now, umpty ump years later, I'm still that one is still colonizing my life. Uh, but it's useful when you get even a moment of getting clarity of that. Because just think of all the people who never get a moment of clarity on that, spend their
Hmm.
whole lives trying to be something,
Yeah.
trying to be some role that they've imagined, or that someone else has foisted upon. Actually, no one can foist the role upon you, right? They can try, and certainly, when I taught at that fancy prep school, so I mean, some parents were great, and some parents were just had such a concept of what their kid had to be and what their kid had to live up to, that it
Yeah.
was it was just tragic. Uh, but ultimately, it's up to the kid. It's up to us whether we're going to allow this stuff to be foisted on us.
Yeah. I had the thought uh during this meditation, uh because like I was mentioning, I've been sort of coming to the realization or to the understanding that I don't have to, and it's something that's been recurring, I guess, in the past few months, that I don't have to understand everything and I don't have to know everything.
Yep.
Some things are useful to know,
Yep.
but those questions that are so big that no one can answer, I that I've tended to circle around in my mind, I don't have to engage in those to be happy, to find
Right.
contentment.
Right.
And so the thought I had during this was, that's the attitude of a content person. It's like they don't think about why am I here when they're content.
Yep.
They just think, oh, I'm content. Great. Now let's go get a coffee. And
Yes. Amen. Amen.
uh,
Yeah. Accept
yeah,
that gift. That is grace.
yeah,
That is grace.
yeah,
Um, and when constitutionally you're a born philosopher, like
yeah,
you and me, Tejas, right? We that's a thing that we have to learn.
yeah,
Actually, in my I got a book for you if you want to read a book. I write about it in one of the chapters of my new book, "To the Lighthouse" by Virginia Woolf,
hmm,
which
okay,
is just brilliant. She had like psychological X-ray vision. You can
hmm,
just see her doing that, just seeing all how people experience, not just psychological, but like neurological. She sees how people's nervous systems are assimilating certain experiences and then responding to them. It's just breathtaking. So her main character in To the Lighthouse is the mom is the mom, is Mrs. Ramsey. She's got, I think, 8 kids, and she's like Virginia Woolf, actually. She just sees inside of people, and she's simple. She's simple. She sits there and she knits, and everything's fine. Meanwhile, her husband is a philosopher, and he's outside pacing back and forth, trying to push, trying to think his way one. And she describes it as he'd got, if we could think of the whole progression, the linear progression of the thoughts on our way to ultimate truth, we give them letters like A, B, C. He'd gotten to Q. And he was like gritting his teeth, and she describes the veins in his forehead bulging. He's trying to make his way to R, right? And he knows that only one man in a generation makes it to Z, and it's not going to be him. And he's completely frustrated. And as he's pacing back and forth, trying to make his way from Q to R, he's muttering to himself. He's reciting Tennyson's poem, "The Charge of the Light Brigade," which is, into the valley of death rode this cannon to the left of them, cannon to the right of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered. Into the jaws of death rode the 600. And that Charge of the Light Brigade was a real historical incident, and it was actually a line in the poem, rhymes with 600. Someone had blundered. The officer had given them these completely stupid suicidal commands, so it was a suicide mission. It was completely stupid, and of course that's what the philosopher, is engaged in. He's killing himself trying to make it from Q to R, and he's never going to make it, but he's going to die with his boots on.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, he's completely scornful of his wife because, she's so stupid. She doesn't understand philosophy at all. Meanwhile, she's sitting inside knitting, and she is there, beyond Z, to that place that he's not getting to, because he's trying to think his way there. You can't think your way there. It's the wrong tool for the job.
Right.
You can have the best screwdriver in the world, and if you're trying to use it as a hammer, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And thought is the right tool for many jobs, and it's the wrong tool for this job. And the tool for this job is what we do in meditation, which is ignore your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Not repress them, not argue with them, not take them seriously, just ignore them. They're just there. There's this background noise. And to spend 15 or 20 minutes ignoring your thoughts, that's really good for the philosophically inclined, nudniks like you and me, because then when we go back to that stuff, the grip of the thoughts on us, our tendency to take them seriously has become less because we've spent 20 minutes ignoring them.
Mm-hmm.
And that means they cannot be of absolute importance. That's telling the nervous system those thoughts are not of absolute importance.
Yeah.
We spent 20 minutes ignoring them, and we didn't die or get pregnant.
Yeah. And I've spent hours and hours engaging with them, and I haven't felt much better either.
No, exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Here's another perspective on it. The people who've done generations, literally millennia of thinking about this stuff with the most sophisticated philosophical tools, right, are the Buddhist philosophers and the Hindu philosophers. What have they come down to as the ultimate truth? Well, after all those millennia, the Buddhists it all comes down to anatta, not self. What do the Hindu philosophers come down to? It all comes down to atta, Atman, self. Right? They come down 180 degrees diametrically opposed in at least the mind's description of it. Right? Now, Does this mean little Tejas in New Jersey or little Dean in Santa Monica is going to figure out what these guys are still arguing about after thousands of years? No, no, no. Now, does it seem likely that, okay, all the guys that subscribe to Atta, not or Atman, self, they get to be enlightened, they get to be happy, and none of the ones that subscribe to not self, they're all screwed. They don't get enlightened, they don't get happy, or vice versa. Does it seem? I mean, you know that intuitively,
Yeah.
it can't be that way.
Right.
It can't be that way. You know, it's there's going to be people who get happy, get enlightened, get liberated in both camps,
Yeah.
right?
Because enlightenment isn't like you said, a thought exercise of
Exactly.
having the right, you know.
Exactly. It's not getting to Z.
Yeah.
We're never going to get to Z, thank God.
Right.
Okay?
Great. Well, that was helpful.
Good, good, good. Okay. Anything else today? Good. I think we'll leave it there. So, may all beings swiftly realize that which is after, beyond Z, before A, right? There's a Dr. Seuss book, On Beyond Zebra, where he gets, it's the kid gets tired of those 26 letters. He starts making up new ones, right? We can go on forever making stuff up. So, may all beings swiftly realize that happiness, which is right here, and thus may peace prevail everywhere. And the Sanskrit for that wish, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great holiday.
So much. Yes,
Everybody.
happy holidays. Have fun.
Thank you, Dean.
Enjoy being.
Mm.
Thank you so much.
See ya in 2022.
Okay.